seen the jet black skull behind the visor of the astronaut? I recognize parts of myself within those shadows, fighting to be free. If it can show the world one face, then another. Have I met it before? What was the name that sat on its head? Was it the first one who said, "Do you see the white shadow?"
Yeah. So obviously the astronaut is us because we're a D-Space astronaut. All of this is a memory. Or I should say a metaphor for like amnesia, forgiveness, something. Or forgetfulness, something.
Would it be safe for me to drive afterwards? I had no idea. But what about prep time and recovery? I'm in the middle of a lot right now, so... No. It's... I wouldn't want anyone present. No one can know about this. Everyone is overbearing and controlling, and... I haven't even told a single person about... If they found out I was here, that we were talking...
I wonder if this is also a metaphor for grief. Because she is grieving. Just jump down this as well. Okay. Just go deeper and deeper and deeper. Boss fight!
Guardian of Hades, do you cast the white shadow?
That face her face? Release me. The objective. Cool. Oh no, I don't have those.
I will go there now. As you will. I remember everything now. I know why I deserve to be here. The crash. That's why I belong. It's always the crash I return to.
The car crash. It's true. So who died in the who died in the car crash? That she's is it her son? Is this a metaphor for grief and depression over her son Helios that died on the car crash? And she just keeps sinking and sinking deeper and deeper and deeper? What the?
One who brought me here. Is this what you wanted me to see?
Fear the Reaper? She mentioned that before?
Mom? Do you see the white shadow?
Do you see the white shadow?
I guess that's the end. Apparently this game has like multiple endings. It's not it, huh? What the fuck? It's apparently there's a true ending. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna get it because of the glyphs. I think getting the glyphs ties everything up. Let's see.
I birthed destruction. I am destruction. For the cycle to end, I must not just remember.
Returnal has more secrets to be found if you dig deeper. Use the device in the cargo bay to find more meaning. I have no idea. That's not the cargo bay. The textures are all fucked up. I'm not currently in a cycle right now, right? Let me see.
Scout log, Atropos. Helios is entirely broken, and I must abandon hope for him. Initially, I thought to merge his systems with those of the Sentients, because maybe these machines would fix him. The brightest minds on the mothership couldn't fathom this, so I can't save him. He's gonna die, and I'll be alone. A moment of hesitation. Now he's gone, and I remain. Did I even survive the initial impact? What a horror terrifying life I've walked into. I turn around and notice the front door is already closed behind me, before I was even aware that my hand had locked the deadbolt. Mother, I'm home.
Let's see. Because I'll have to end it anyway. Let's see. Returnal endings has a normal ending after defeating the boss, and the true ending that requires collecting some face fragments and completing a final house sequence. Oh. Well, I think I'm just going to read it. I think I'm just going to look it up. Let's see. I think I'm going to just watch it.
I told you to leave me alone. Celine. Helios.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start the review here, I guess. So far, all the comments in that YouTube video, they have not a single fucking clue of what's happening in the story. Which I would agree. I mean, the story is kind of pretty convoluted. It's there, but it is pretty convoluted. My interpretation of the story is that is that Celine being stuck on the planet is essentially her just trying to find ways to accept the accident and accept her trauma, and it was a giant metaphor for grief and depression. And I think a lot of the story was pretty embedded into the overall into the different types of interactables in the world itself, particularly in the house. And I think if you don't pay attention to all I think if you don't pay attention to all the small little details within the house, and if I mean yeah, I mean I think if you don't pay I think if you don't pay attention to all those little things and you don't pick up all of the journal shards or whatever, I think it would be very hard to understand what's happening in this game. While I do appreciate the way that they do have the story presented in the game, I I honestly I honestly do think that it is pretty pretentious in the way that in the way that they actually did present it. I mean, I guess obviously it was the way that it was intended, but I do think that I do think that there should have been something to be understood at a surface level, or 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 something to be said to that way. Your regular gamer can understand what's actually happening in the game. That's really my take on the story. Really nothing else to really harp on it. I like the way it was presented. I like discovering and picking and putting the pieces together and making assumptions. I mean, the game is philosophical in a way, but I think for your general gamer, if they don't pay attention to that, they just play the game. Um, it ain't gonna make a whole bunch of fucking sense. And in particular for finishing this game up in 8 hours in PC. Also, given exactly what's happening with the game and in the story, if the story is presented, I do think that it is fairly short. But the things that I do think that this game really, really, really did was, did this story need to be told within a game? Um, yes. I I do think that the story could have been told in the game. I just don't think that it was told in a way for the gameplay and the story to be coherent in one another. It's like it really does feel like that the game it does feel like that the game and the story are two completely different concepts. Was a game the best medium to tell the story? I think so. I mean, I do think that the story is compelling. I think that the story is compelling. I just don't think that the gameplay. I, I really don't even know how to say it. It's like it's like it. Okay, here's what I can say. Most of the times when I would assume when you're making a story, you come up with the story first and then the game. The game feels like that they came up with the gameplay and then the story came afterwards, just to feel something in. But if you take the two side by side, they don't really mesh well together in the way that the game is presented in itself at all. So that's how I honestly feel about the story. It's like it feels like the overall game. It seemed like they built the game first, and then the story came afterwards. And honestly, I was a bit more, and also I don't think that Celine's story was the right story to tell in this game. I don't. I don't think it was the right story in the game, because you get into this game, and you get into this game, and it's as if they're world building like this alien race, and like in like this big sophisticated civilization of sentient beings that are still alive and still trying to pick up the pieces where it left. And then you have these archives that are picking up the pieces and building as well. But then you have this game about Celine grieving over a car accident the whole entire time. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, which is why I feel like that the game came first and then the story came second. I just don't think it was the right story to tell for the game. At all. So I mean that's my piece on the story. I really do feel like that the game would have just been more interesting from a narrative standpoint if they just stuck with a deep space scientist trying to figure out how to get off of a planet, which is essentially what happened in Act 1. But then Act 2 came, and then it became grief and trauma. I think I really do feel like that they should have done that. And then it was even more interesting that even after death, she was still stuck on the planet. So I mean, I would have thought that they could have done something else with that, because that's the main reason why I was so interested, is because you get into this game about a deep space scientist who crashes, and then she's basically stuck in a perpetual state of, trying to figure out how to get off of it. So yeah, that's pretty much how I felt about that. And then that leads to the boss fights as well. Going into the story, you fight all these different said bosses, or sentient beings that are still alive, that are, and their stories are being told through these xenoglyphs, it seems. Outside of the convoluted story, the bosses were absolutely fucking amazing. They were awesome. I enjoyed every single one of them. And despite this game being a bullet hell, which, when you play a bullet hell, you typically have, the regular, the regular frames that developers use in bullet hell games, which is the burst that come in like threes, and then you have the the follows, the heat seeking ones, and then you have the circles that pulse out, and then you have the spiral. But this game used a lot of different style of those bullet hell patterns that I really felt interesting, and they added a lot of they added a good bit of some more depth as to how to fight them, and they added a good bit of challenge. And I appreciate how the developers use the game as it being a third person shooter to be able to use those kind of things. It's like no, in a way, I feel like in a way it'd be cool if a game like Risk of Rain, used patterns like Returnal did, because a lot of them were really interesting. Even the boss fights designs were really cool. My favorite one was obviously Nemesis, which was the boss that was playing the no, not was that, it just does, was it Nemesis or Ophion? No, it's Hyperion. Sounds a song. Yeah, Hyperion, sorry. Yeah. Hyperion, the one that played the organ. That was by far my favorite. That one was so cool, and I am a huge sucker for developers that incorporate music into combat for their boss fights. Um, I felt like the bosses were genuinely fair but challenging, and I do feel like, someone who is relatively new to who isn't all that great at shooters, but is good at platforming, would very well enjoy this game. And then that leads me into the overall map design along with the mob designs. I feel like they nailed the atmosphere and the vibe of this game throughout the whole entire time. Like I said, I kept saying I'm getting heavy Prometheus, Ridley Scott style, you know, huge inspiration from those two things, and I I loved it each and every minute. I can go on and on about it, but I'm not for the sake of yap. But it was incredible. It was visually impressive, and not only was it visually impressive, it felt great to play. It felt great to play. The controls were very responsive. The only thing that I do wish that they would have done was dedicated a sprint bar. I mean, a sprint button to just regularly sprint versus having to dash. That's my only gripe. Um, other than that, I really have no complaints over the movement. I also feel like that the way that they progressed you to gain the different passives or the different tools that you can get from the aliens was also pretty well paced. Um, I felt like the rooms weren't all that large, and it wasn't a time sink to have to continuously fight mobs over and over again. I enjoyed how every single room where there are mobs, they don't lock it down, and you're stuck having to fight the mobs to move on. You can actually skip it, which then gets to my point of the QOL of when you die, you can pretty quickly get back to where you were beginning, versus the generic roguelike that you would go play, where if you die, you quite literally start from the beginning and you have to kill every boss over and over and over again to get back to where you were, which becomes incredibly tedious. So I do appreciate the developers doing that for this game. Which then, and then going back to the level design, I also really liked how not only did they progress, not only did they do a good job at progressing the way that you gain your tools and your permanent abilities throughout the game. I also enjoyed how they also progressed both mob density and mob types. It seems like that when you went from Act 1 to Act 2, they took your standard mobs that you fought before, and they evolved them into being a little bit stronger and to be a little bit challenging, but it wasn't too much the way it was overbearing. And I like that a lot. Because when you first fight like your first dog style mob in the beginning, they were very easy, 3-shot mobs, and then you fight the ones after, and they're fucking hounding your ass, bullets everywhere. They actually run up to you and bite you, constantly keeping you on your toes. It's like the game expects you to be at a certain level, and if you don't reach a level, then obviously it's up to you just to get good. But in terms of overall progression for a player, I do think that it is pretty balanced. Honestly, I would recommend this game to anybody. I mean, the game is super accessible in terms of gameplay. I mean, even on PC it even had aim assist. So I can only imagine how it is on controller. The controls are very simple. Not too many inputs. The game is very easy to understand. The game is very easy to learn. The game is very forgiving in terms of mistakes. Particularly in the health generation system for a roguelike, or for a game where you go from room to room. The game is extremely generous with the healing items. Extremely generous with the healing items. You know, you could, I mean, for instance, I literally think, I don't think I don't think I died this entire time I played today. And it was strictly because of the way that I was able to support myself with the amount of heals. So, yeah, I mean, the game is a nice 9 out of 10, honestly. I mean, the worst part about it is the story, but honestly, if you go into this game not wanting a story, just wanting a fun, cool-looking sci-fi game that, you know, has roguelike elements, and you know, you want to get spooked a little bit, this game offers all of it. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to put any more time into this game. I think 8 hours is the perfect amount of time for this game, to be honest. I mean, I can only play a roguelike for so much. I mean, I think I fucking have, yeah, this is my most played, 160 hours. So I wouldn't, I mean, I'm probably not going to put any more time into this. I mean, this game kind of feels like it's done, right? Based on the ending that we got. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that. And in terms of price of this game, if you should buy it, I mean, fuck. I wouldn't spend $60 in this game, to be quite frank. Yeah, I would not spend $60 in this game, to be honest. Yeah. I would not spend $60 in this game. The most that I would spend on this game, given that it is incredibly polished, and that it does it. I mean, I think this game was presented as a, you know, next gen, as a next gen title for PS5, and I really do feel like the game does offer that next generation feel. But I honestly would not play this game, or buy this game, should say, for no more than $30. And that's without a sale. I don't think this game is worth $60 at all. At all. Especially especially as a game that has little to no story, and you're basically buying a AAA polished indie title. Fuck no. $60 is not worth the cost of this game. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, the game to me is still a 9 out of 10 in terms of gameplay. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to play it anymore, but, you know, the game still was really good. It still was very interesting. It still was super intriguing. I had a great time playing it. And this is me coming from Lords of the Fallen. This game fucking dumpsters all over that piece of shit. I wouldn't even fucking pay $1 to play that game.